Hey, welcome to the Push-Pull Sales and Marketing Podcast. I'm Marcello.
And I'm Sherry, and each episode we provide you with sales and marketing strategies that you can implement immediately into your own business. Today, we are giving you guys an episode of a great interview that Marcello was able to do with Nikolaus Kimla, the CEO of Pipeliner, which you guys should be familiar with by now, since they have sponsored a couple of our episodes. And there is a ton of great information in this episode.
Yeah, for this, I mean, he basically lives and breathes sales, and salespeople, and he even coined, and you can listen to it in the interview, the phrase salespreneur, which is basically the salesman is basically an entrepreneur, but not taking on the same amount of risk, but he talks about his product, how it can help you, and also how he just helps salespeople in general. A lot of great information, a lot of great resources. So as soon as you're done listening to the podcast, head over to pushpullsales.com/pipeliner. Check them out. Also check out the show notes, and you'll actually see links to all the resources that he mentions in the podcast.
Sounds good. Let's dive in.
All right, so we have, and correct me, it's actually pronounced Nicholas, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't go by Nikolaus or anything like that?
Oh, Nicholas.
Okay, it's just Nicholas. Very good, very good. And you are over at Pipeliner. You're the CEO, correct? President?
I am the CEO, and I'm really the brain. I created the product, so I'm not the typical guy who is founding a company and has a couple of our programmers. I'm just coming from their technical background. I created really and doing it still today. So this is really out of my brain.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and that actually segues very well into my first question. So, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, aside from when you're not programming and when you're not running a CRM company, things that whatever you like to do for fun. So how about we go a little bit into your background. So you said that do you have a programming background, or what's your background?
No, oh gosh, this would take you probably half a day, okay?
Okay.
And I cannot go into that in too much detail, but originally, as you can figure it out, I'm not from the United States. I'm coming from Austria, Vienna.
Okay.
And I'm probably one of the very, very few people, even unheard today, that moved from Austria was in the age of over 50. I was 51 when I moved 4 years ago to the United States, to Los Angeles. Yeah, and normally people are in that country, in my home country, retiring, and I was giving up everything and moved to the States to build a company from scratch, zero. There was no music band. There was no red carpet when my wife and my family arrived on September 29th, 2012. Yeah, there was nothing. Yeah, we just landed with a lot of suitcase, and the car that we rented was not there.
No way.
That was the beginning. Yeah, and it was
welcome to America. That's funny.
It was a tough road. It was not easy really to set everything up. No, I have a very, very different background, and basically this is pretty much too long for all of that. But I can only say I'm a colored bird.
Okay.
With a lot of background. My university studies, if you go back, I studied, besides I'm in technology since the beginning of the mid-'80s and everything, is I studied Protestant theology. So I'm coming really from a very in philosophy-driven background and pushed over during the university time into technology, and was one of the first Apple centers and figured it out that Apple is my core. And then I really realized that hardware selling is not, and moved over to software, to the software industry. And then realized software industry, not the web technology, immediately in the 90s. Bigger project, and was going into that, and made the biggest web projects in Austria, and then even in Europe, and started in the banking compliance. That my company really designed from a technical background and from a hosting background. It is the biggest banking compliance solution in the world, and it was sold 2010 to Thomson Reuters for $500 million, and so
wow.
My team were really the generating of that, and we're still hosting and maintaining. And one branch of one of my companies, I have a couple of them, is still doing the Thomson Reuters stuff that we do for them, and maintaining the software and the compliance. But we realized pretty much around 2006, 7, and 8 that there is a big problem in the CRM industry. CRM is 30 years old, almost 25 years, yeah. But most people always felt our CRM is almost dead, yeah. And then when I was 2007 investigating a little bit deeper in the CRM space, we figured it out that many people, not all, but many people said our CRM sucks. And then I said to my people, or to the people that I'm talking, I would say, would you drive a car that sucks? Or would you use a phone that sucks? Would you anything use that sucks? And everybody said no. Then why people using that? And then we figured it out that there is not real alternative, because they all suck equally.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so we said, okay, what's the problem? What is the issue of that? Why are they all not really doing what they should do? And so we were going to the heart of this, and we were interviewing a lot of salespeople, and then out of the war room concept of IBM, basically 40 years old, with the methodology in mind, and with the idea how this should work, and with the interviewing of the salespeople, we created Pipeliner. At that time, I had no clue that it will take me 8 years of programming to be there where I'm now. And this is also why it could not be a typical venture-driven startup, because no venture has this long atom to work for 8 years and put the money in. And so it was really self-funded. It was drawn to another big story that one day people probably dive deeper into that. But we did everything very different than any other vendor in our industry. And the first thing that I did differently when I came to the States is I not founded a sales team. I was going after content. I created the first content team when I landed, and my first really people were all around content, because I knew the future is on intelligent, educational, I would say, insights in the business area. And so our mission in Pipeliner, the mission for Pipeliner, is really not our nice, how I can say that, nice little words they put together in a mission statement, where most mission statements you can not underline them, you have crossed to line them because they're not true. We really figured it out for ourselves that we really believe in doing that. And so Pipeliner missions is really to put people first, because we interviewed the people, what kind of software you want, and we constantly do that, providing a solution that empowers these people. And empowering is about not only empowering by the software, but also in the mind and education. This is why we have today more ebooks than any other vendor in the world in our space. Yeah, and we're producing a lot more. And to the software, giving the people real business insight in their principles, in the business principles. And all of that should be done in an enjoyable and fun way using our software, because we feel why people are like my son and my kids, I have 3 kids, are 26, 24, and 8, yeah, are why they all are playing, let's say, with Xbox, yeah, and or whatever, PlayStation, yeah, why they like it, because it's visual, it's fun, it's using. Why, when you go entering into the business world, it's boring and it's ugly and it's terrible and it's line-based and nothing is really in any form fun for working. And so we said, this has to change. And this is what we did.
Oh, that's very interesting. So what you're saying is that you came here 4 years ago, but before that, I'm sorry, you came here before, but you launched the product 4 years ago, correct?
3.5 years ago, yes.
So you launched the product only 3.5 years ago, spent 8 years developing it, and you kind of jumped ahead too, because we talked about, do you want to talk about what separates your site and what really attracted us to you as a software provider or as an affiliate or as a sponsor was because of that content. You do a really, really good job in terms of content.
Thank you.
And again, you would be hard pressed, and if you look at the space out there, and that's very interesting. You pretty much you have one publicly traded company, and you have a bunch of smaller companies or maybe startup companies, and you are 100% right in terms of your software, and I'll have you clarify that too. Your actual CRM, it's a lot more visual and it's a lot more user friendly, and that's something I can tell you from my own business. We have our own transportation software, and we spend a lot of time developing it, making it look visually nice, because we can have basically the same exact functionality, and a customer will say, oh, I like yours better only because it might look a little bit more user-friendly, or might be a little bit more colorful, or might have a logo or an icon, or might give them a little bit more actionable data in terms of an actual visual reporting tool. So I do want to ask in terms of, and maybe you can clarify, for your clients right now, how many of your clients are reaching out and it's their first time ever purchasing a CRM, and then how many are actually coming through and trying to leave maybe a legacy system, a homegrown system, or maybe the I'm not going to mention I'm not going to mention any of your competitors on here, but who are coming from an existing system, or how many are just fresh to the idea of actually using a CRM? What would you say is the split?
The split is interesting. We were investigating a little bit, and it's a third to all of these different areas. So we have a third of people, they have never used anything before.
Okay.
Then we have a third around, about people, they have some old systems and it's not working. And then we have really a third already of our real CRM system that came over and they just flank it out.
Okay. And in terms of the ones who had never used an actual CRM system before, what would you say? Do you normally talk to them, or what are they normally bringing up that would be the main benefit of using a CRM versus just doing whatever they were doing before?
Well, that's a very good question, but it goes very deep in the area of the change of society and the change of business. In society, we say the change is we are moving into the digital area, yeah, mm-hmm. and we have everything digital, yeah. What it's good or not good, I'm not questioning. It's the reality we have to live in, yeah, and through this, as we know from the kids and from the millenniums, they behave different, yeah, because mm-hmm. they're growing up with that, and so their thinking and everything is different. And today, when you are in a business and you have not your processes, whatever the process is, yeah, it's not only sales, pre-sales, after sales, maybe your HR process, or maybe your idea process in a company. Everything is a process. As long as you don't understand process thinking, digital process thinking, how you make one thing combined with another and relating to another. This comes from pure object-oriented programming. I'll give you an example. When you have a table, What is the object of a table that is associated? The chair, whatever, the lamp, and all of that is combined together. This is what's happening today. Today, the digital world changed everything because it has to be related. And as long as you don't understand the process of your company, then it's getting hard to work with Pipeliner, because we can only work for this, because you have to understand your processes. And we are the only tool that visualize multiple processes. We can multiple process visualize. So what that means, well, there is a very different process when you have won a customer, and then probably you have a project to onboard the customer. How you can do that in one? It's not possible. It's different steps. Let's say first you have to sign the contract, then you are starting, then they have to define something, then you have maybe a pre-definition on who is the project leader. So everything is a process today. Every little thing, yeah? And how you digitize the information in a way that it's measured and it's effective and efficient. And here it kicks in that we have focused at that stage out of marketing on sales, because otherwise how people search. Because if I would say I'm the multiple process machine, not so many people look for that. Yeah. Yeah. But the reality, Pipeliner is a framework, a visual framework that you can do any process in the world, quantify it, get inside, and get going. If you understand that, then it's amazing. And some customers have understood that, and they do things with us that it's unbelievable. Like in the pharma industry, they're doing it for research, others doing it for HR, others doing it. But we're coming from the sales process. Why we have done that? Because you see, this was clear for everyone. Sales has a sales process, a funnel, or I call it a pipeline. This is why we call it Pipeliner, yeah? Because then people can relate to that. Otherwise, it's getting too spooky for many people. Huh? And because I was related to the sales pipeline or to the salespeople, I created even a term. Because I think salespeople, and especially sales manager, are the most undervalued and underappreciated and overstressed persons in the world. If they would be different, handled, and treated and helped, and they would have the right tool and the right mindset and the right training and the right education, we would have a much more better outcome for a lot of company. And so I created a term, because I call salespeople salespreneurs. Salespeople are entrepreneurs in an enterprise. Why they're not real entrepreneurs? Well, because they live not 100% by risk, but they risk their commissions. Have you seen any heart surgeon who has living by commission? If you go to the hospital and say, I pay you if the operation runs well, or whatever, yeah? No, salespeople are the only ones, they have a form of a risk or a risk approach. And this is why I call them salespeople. But if we would help them better, especially the poor sales manager. A sales manager is the toughest job. And the biggest mistake that people are doing is to make the best salesperson the sales manager. It's like you have someone on the boat. He's a great guy on the boat, and he's maybe the navigator, and you make him the captain, and he was never the captain before. He's not even learned it. And then you give him not even education. This is why we believe in education. This is why we have right now already 90 ebooks, and we are writing and putting out. And my new ebook is coming out in 10 days about the pains of the sales manager.
Pains of the and what we're gonna do, Nikolaus, is we're gonna have everything that all the highlights. We like to put up nice show notes. We'll have links to everything as well. So whenever that gets released, send me over a link to where our listeners can go ahead and get a copy of that.
Sure. We are free. We give away a lot, and this will be even more because we are starting with the end of May. Mm-hmm. Besides this week, we have a big week. We are coming out with the new mobile on Thursday.
Okay.
9 months of programming. I don't know how many people are involved. I think 16 people. We have a big team, really big. But so mobile is coming this week. But by the end of May, we are coming out with Pipeliner Lite and with the freemium. We want to spread it out right now around the world.
Okay. Now, that was another thing I wanted, and I'm just kind of curious. And again, this is just my curiosity.
Sure.
So a third, you said are brand new customers. In terms of clients, you have offices here in the United States on West Coast, East Coast. You also have locations overseas as well, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. How much is there more? Is there more adoption here in the United States? Is there more adoption maybe overseas in terms of CRMs, or is it kind of even?
Well, the thing what brought me to the States is that in Europe, or where I'm originally from in Vienna,
Mm-hmm.
and then around Austria, as you can, when you look at the map on a geographical side, is that around us we have at least 8 languages. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you cross the border, let's say, where it's very close, or Hungary or Italy or Slovakia or Slovenska or whatever it is, there is a different language involved immediately. And the transformation of the software is not the issue, but the whole content. It's amazing how much that is. And so even we have culturally differences, big ones in the US between Texas and let's say California and New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, selling is the same everywhere. You can sell everywhere. Yeah. And the process is the same, but in Europe it's totally different, and that's also for other parts of the world. Yeah. And so for me at that stage, it was important that we are just establishing in the Commonwealth or in the English-speaking, I would say, countries, our foothold at the beginning, because it costs so much money. It's so resource intensive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially when you come from a content perspective. Yeah. When you just come from a product perspective, it's different. But we transport, as you know, a lot of content and insight and giving and helping. How I can do that in Spanish, in Italy, in France. And you see, if you go to France and you don't speak French, they don't like that. They're very we call that they're very toppy nose.
Yeah. That's funny actually. The other day, and I find it kind of funny for what my company does. We help with shipping and logistics.
Uh-huh.
A client from Spain heard of us from an American vendor of theirs. So they sent us an email all entirely in Spanish, and I replied to them entirely in Spanish. Say, hey, we can take a look at that, blah blah blah. And then, sure enough, my vendor or their vendor that already works with them, so like, oh no, he could have sent you something in English. When I ever get emails from him, it's 100% in English. I was like, huh, that's definitely interesting. That because they saw that we were a logistics company, they just assumed that we would understand that. But yeah, so I can definitely understand the issues with language barriers. Now, let me ask you, in terms of also setting your software apart, if I remember correctly, your software, it's not just web-based. Do you have a hybrid model? Is it web-based? Is it software? Or how does yours work that might be different than your competitors?
Yeah, also a very good question. Here it kicks in. Besides other stuff that we do, we try to differentiate big ones in the unique selling proposition, or USPs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the big five, I call it the big five, one hand. What differentiates us with the one hand? Yeah. And mm-hmm. Number one is that we are the only solution that offers a full-blown CRM online and offline.
Okay.
And why? Because on many locations around the world, if you really look around, internet connectivity is not there. And to be honest, not every salesperson is willing, when they hop on a plane or on a bus and it takes a long drive, that they pay their internet connectivity. And then what you do when you're in the mode and you cannot work, yeah. So it's not functioning, definitely not only in the States, are quite well everywhere, especially when you go to other countries. There is nothing, yeah, and Pipeliner can work. And so this is our productivity winning, and this is fantastic. The other form is that we say the second finger of the hand is the visualization. And what is the visualization? Everybody has visualization on dashboards, yeah. But at dashboards, forget that, yeah. Dashboards is clear visualization for the buying center, org chart, task view, bubble chart. All of that, you see, where it comes really to the exciting and important things. Nobody can do that. We're the only one. Yeah. The next is that I'm coming from the big enterprise business, yeah, with banking compliance. Yeah. For me, it was always clear to make an editor. That means to make the admin and the person are so easy in customization that you don't have to learn the entire application, that simple, yeah, easy to customize, and that is a big help for someone. And the fourth finger was about, or as you correctly already stated, was the learning, yeah, because we simply believe that learning is the future. And learning is not you go to university or to school and university and then you constantly, this is a life habit that you have to do. And so what we did, we built contextually, in context sensitive help right into the product. A sensitive help, a context sensitive help right into the product. And we added additional, as only the vendor, also nobody's doing, to give for every feature a video to show you how it works, yeah, so that you know, oh gosh, this is how it works. And constantly providing free e-learning tools and ebooks and blogs and white papers that no one is doing. So because we believe in education, and education in that sense should be free, and we want to help you. We really want to make you, and not only on the product side, oh no, we want to help you to say, what is sales changing? And we all know that the buyer has changed, but the seller has not changed, because the seller is following right now the buyer. The buyer knows more than sometimes the seller, and the seller is not in line. And so we help the seller or the sales manager to get better. And finally, we are driven by business principles, and the business principles are reported into the business insights. That means available out of the box in Pipeliner, like what we did right now with our latest release, the Navigator. And the Navigator is rooted deeply, really deeply rooted in cybernetics. Now the people freak out and say, my goodness, what is cybernetics?
I was going to say, yeah.
What is cybernetics? Cybernetics was founded by an MIT professor. What a coincidence. His last name is Wiener. Wiener means Vienna, yeah? Okay. But he was not from Austria. He was not from Vienna. His name. It's just pure coincidence. And the cybernetics is Ross Ashby says to that, cybernetics is the science of simplification. And what we try with Business Mindset is to give to cybernetics principles, that would be a little bit too technical right now to go, to visualize everything for our users, to give them business insights. One is insights, the other is the Navigator. That means we're the first AI tool that tells you, these are your to-do today. This is the suggestion of the system. You should concentrate on this. This is overdone. Look at this, or take care of this, or the complexity of sales to simplify.
That is,
and I think that's the magic behind Pipeliner.
That's and the whole AI, that part is very interesting, because for salespeople, especially if you give them a territory, if you give them 2,000, 3,000 contacts, if your system does that, I mean, lets them know where to focus and where to follow up and where they should be without having to sort and filter and find the right report, that is huge, because a lot of times if you're talking to the wrong people or if you're not following up at the right time, you can lose a lot of business that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing too, and if I wanted to add a sixth one, and maybe this has changed, and we just did a podcast on pricing. In terms of your model, I believe you just have one set price and you get everything versus maybe a lower base price, and then you have to pay to get the other features that you want. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're changing that, we are going the reverse way.
Okay.
We do that, and we're coming out. We had programmed right now with the latest release that you can click away in the back end features that you automatically disable for people. And so the tier structure is coming. It's just a question of weeks and a couple months, and then we are coming out with a tier structure. And the new tier structure with end of May is coming already, because we are coming with one fixed version on Pipeliner Lite.
Okay, and that's Pipeliner Lite. Now,
yeah.
And my wife Sherry, for her, she's more the marketing and she's more of the actual techie side. I am curious, and she would be curious too. You mentioned on the mobile, is that a native? Is that just a native mobile web, like it's just website, or is that an app that has to be downloaded?
No, it's hard coded iOS and Android. It was tough. It was so tough, and we are coming with the first version. If people follow Pipeliner, and there's right now thousands, what makes me very happy, and I'm very thankful for that. But you see, when you go to us and you look around Pipeliner, the version 9.1 is right now 37,195 builds. That means 37, almost 38,000 times someone of the programmer was dedicating a code to the repository. And that means this is a lot. And so right now we are coming with the first version of their mobile app, and you have to download that, and it's not a web page, so it's really, and synchronize immediately everything. It's beautiful, but it's native programmed in iOS and in Android. And sorry, not in Windows Phone, because I don't see so much a growing market for this, guys.
Oh no, I wholeheartedly agree, and that's got to be something that, as a business person and as a developer, it's difficult, because you have a huge market that you can go after, and you kind of see that you want to just go after everything, but it makes more sense, and to do what you're doing is to focus where the market is, where you're going to be best suited, where you're quote unquote big five. And we did another podcast on unique value propositions, what's unique to you and what's actually, and what's actually defendable. So yeah, I definitely see a lot more things going that way. So you have basically, you can download it on Android, and then also, if you want, there also is a mobile version. If you have an iPad and you just want to look on the website, you can check that out too, correct?
That's correct.
Very good. Very good. So let me ask you, when you're first reaching out to a customer, when your sales reps are first reaching out, what are some questions you normally hear from them?
First of all, people search. Yeah, we have only at that stage we have a couple of different programs, and we started in the US only the inbound. Yeah, This is why it comes over the content, because we're generating a lot in that area. And right now we are starting on the outbound activity. And so, as you know, outbound is very different than inbound, because you are just reaching out to your target group. This takes a little bit more time, but it's different. Yeah.
So all your growth up until recently has just been generated from people seeing your resources, people maybe seeing a blog or listening to a podcast and hearing about your service, and then contacting you first, versus you actually having people make calls and reach out to sales managers and company owners, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the amazing of our growth, because we are growing by 100% a year over every time. Yeah, 100% growth rate every year. Yeah, and it's rapidly growing per month. It's great. It's all organic. And I think we have also a different business model in that area because we want to be profitable. We don't want to be like a couple of other companies and strategies where you have just are producing a lot. We have a different strategy, yeah, let's say that. And the strategy goes in very different areas. In hiring people, we hire experienced people, older people, intelligent people. They cost more money, yes, but we want that they are getting also rich, like in the old concept of Microsoft or Apple, and in the old concept where people are participating and really having something, yeah, and not squeezing them out, like the new book that it's out there, Disrupted, or what happened with HubSpot and other companies where the venture get rich, some of the owners get rich, and the rest get almost nothing, yeah, not really, yeah, and we have here a different approach. And the approach is really to get experienced people in. And so for the reason at that stage, it was important that we are generating that from the inbound, and now we are getting to the outbound.
Yeah, and again, you talk about being profitable, and there's a book, I think it's called The Challenger Sale, and one of my favorite quotes from that book is, "It's possible to get all of a customer's business and none of their money." So yeah, and again, just the reason why we'd reached out, we really, really like your product, and we really, really like you as an actual resource. Just wanted to see, and what we try to do in each and every podcast, we like to be kind of quick and dirty and kind of get into the meat of it and how we can help people and stuff like that. So if you had a tip, or if you had a sales or marketing advice, it could be a book, it could be an app, it could be a course, or anything like that, what would you recommend our listeners to listen to? So most of our listeners are salespeople. I'd say that actually is predominantly maybe like 70% of our listeners. 30% are on the marketing side. It just seems like salespeople are just a little bit maybe more active. They're on the road. They like to listen to a podcast. What sort of resources or what sort of advice would you give to a salesperson who's just trying to grow their business?
Well, there's two categories. The one is the sales manager, and the other is the salesperson.
Okay.
Very different roles. And in the salesperson, as we know, it's not that so simple, because it's again, you have different roles. You can be a farmer, you can be a hunter, you can be an inside salesperson or a field salesperson. So it's very hard which right kind of role we are talking here. It's like medicine, yeah? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you have different kinds of specialities today in any area. Ophthalmology there is so many today. It's amazing, and the same is with sales. Could be so different. The difference is it B2B? Is it B2C? Is it mid-sized business, small business? It could be that you're a small company but you sell to big companies. Very different sales approach. It could be that you are selling like people are doing it like we do over the WebEx. That means it's a very different sales when you don't see any longer anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Think for a moment what has changed. In the old days, while I was growing up, and I was a salesperson my whole life. Why? Because I'm a CEO, and you always sell as a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked always sales, and I was always in sales. Even when I was 15, 16 years old, I sold some T-shirts and other stuff to get extra money from my things that I wanted to do, to buy maybe a girlfriend, whatever. I always sold some stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the point was, today and the change of what's happening today is, when you are, let's say, selling from a small company to a bigger company, you have a very different approach. And as I said, when you do that over the WebEx and you don't see anyone, and you just listen to the voice. Just listen to the voice. In the old days, you were sitting there, you saw the person, you were interacting. You could a little bit imagine how he or she is reacting to your talking. Mm-hmm. What is the reaction, the body language? Yeah, there is even a book out there from Amy I think it's Amy Cuddy, about presence. She's a very well-known Harvard Business School well-known TED talker about presence or body language. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Salespeople today, many of them have no body language anymore because they don't see anyone. It's very different. So this starts to be becoming a completely different approach in sales, because first of all, you have to learn how you speak, how you interact, what you should say. You listen only. You only listen anymore. Yeah. I'm not saying this is the average, but a lot of people do that. Come on, there is thousands of people there working from home and selling over the phone or selling over WebEx meeting.
Oh yeah, I mean it's so much more cost effective, and that's something for my own company where we're trying to add more insights. It's a lot more cost effective, and you can just hit so many different people, and you can be that much more organized because you do have a CRM like Pipeliner at your fingertips, right then and there. So you can just go from one account to another. You did say that your service it also has an org chart, correct?
Yes, we have an org chart and we have the buying center, and the buying center is correlated to the org chart because you see the buying center in itself is, in my opinion, very interesting, because in the buying center, who is really related to the opportunity. Is that person an influencer? Is the person the budget holder? Is he a naysayer? Is he a climber? Is he maybe the guy who is against? Whatever. You never know. But I would say, please check out our books. I feel we have right now one of the best books out there. I personally produced a couple of them, Cutting Through the Water, Becoming a Sales Champion Salesperson. Really, a lot of people have downloaded it, thousands. Or the other ones are also right now going in very good numbers, Leading from the War Room, Building a Ready Sales Force. Or my CSO, John Golden, that I brought on board, and he's amazing. He was writing a book about winning the battle for sales. At that time, he was the CEO and president of Hootsuite, one of the best training organization in sales around the world. And so we produce really content, and we go out and we say, give us feedback. We want to be better for you. And this is all for free. Yeah, so you don't need that, and we are coming up with a learning university very soon, where you go to courses, because we right now want to structure this knowledge. Mm-hmm. We want to say, okay, what is the first step that you have to understand? And in my opinion, the first step today, and I was also writing a book on that, is emotions in sales. Mm-hmm. The first step today is you have to learn to control and stay focused, and to have to the use of intelligent emotions a competitive advantage. And the competitive advantage that you have is because when you are reacting and acting emotionally insightful, and people understand that, because I strongly believe today we have to be in a winning situation. Because you see, if the buyer wins, let's say the buyer would win. Yeah, the buyer goes away and he had a good margin and he was just snapping down the guy and he was just getting him out the last percentage, and he said, "Wow, oh boy, 5% more." And then, okay, think about that for a moment. And then he's coming back and it doesn't work that quite well, and he needs maybe the guy. Yeah? He mm-hmm. needs maybe the company. And he was nasty to the guy, to the seller. And that's often happening. There is a lot of lousy guys out there, sorry to say. Yeah. I'm not saying, I know this, most people don't like to hear that, but I say not technology sucks, people suck. People suck, yeah? And we should learn that people are behaving correctly, professional. I'm not saying we have to laugh and hug anyone, but if we would act correctly. So the 5% that the buyer was squeezing out like a lemon, the seller, and he had to do that. Okay, the buyer is 2 months or 1.5 months into that. He feels everything is running well, and then he's getting some problems, as normally as it is in life. And what he's doing, he calls the seller, and now he wants that for free. What is the seller doing? Oh, the seller is hitting him hard in a way, not unfriendly, but gives him the time. You have cost me a lot, not on my commission. Maybe the quarter was not good. Whatever it is, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So you see, we need today a win-to-win situation, a fair deal. And what is a fair deal? Learning that. A fair deal hurts always both. Then it's a fair deal. It hurts always both.
You have a very, very unique way to put that. Very good. And I'm going to let you know, Nikolaus, we are going to put so I'll look that up on your resources, what you had mentioned. Cutting through the water, leading from the war room. We're going to have links to all that. We'll also have a link to your website. Just kind of wrapping things up a little bit here. So if someone wanted to reach out and wanted to find out more about Nikolaus or wanted to find out more about Pipeliner, how can people find you?
Well, go to the website, or www.pipelinersales.com or pipelinercrm.com, or you can reach out to me personally, always over LinkedIn. Connect with me and shoot me an email. I'm responding. I'm trying really to respond to people. Even there is a lot. I have thousands, and thousands of contacts. Not saying 1,000 people reaching out to me. I'm not saying that. I don't know when this one day will happen, but I try to connect with people, because at the end of the day, sales is about connecting a human being to another human being. And we should not forget that we are connecting to people. When we sell, we connect to people. And the more we trust the people that we connect, the more we get a good working relationship. And when you have a good working relationship, come on, what do? You make a referral. If you have a good guy, let's say wherever you live, and the guy is helping you and it's nice, yeah, and you are not, let's forget always the salesperson on the car side, yeah, whatever it is, you have a product, and it helps you, and other people like insurance, whatever it is, and it's working for you well. What do you do when a friend is selling you? You say, hey, I have Michael. Michael is not only had done a good deal with me, maybe it was hurting me a little bit, but him too, but it was a fair deal, yeah. But he's a nice guy. He's honest. And what do? You refer him. We forget. It's not all about Facebook and social media. Forget that, guys. The real life is about meeting people.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm very, very big into that. I'm very, very old school. For my wife, she's big on the marketing side, and she doesn't like the face-to-face as much or anything like that. She's big on Twitter and on Snapchat and on all that social media. I'm very, very big on LinkedIn to make those actual connections, and exactly as you put it, because you don't know when a referral is going to come or how that connection might work, and how your professionalism, it might help you get other business. And we do already have, in terms of our resources, we'll also include definitely a link to your site. And if someone wanted to just actually try out your CRM, if they weren't really sure, especially coming from maybe another CRM system and being locked into like a 2 or 3 deal and not wanting more information, they're able to go on your website and they can sign up for an actual free trial. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we have. Yeah, sure.
And that's one thing too. I think was it was a little bit unique about your service. There is not only do you actually set up an actual free trial, you can try out the software. Your actual support was very, very quick to get back. So in terms of in like that, so we had a couple of people come on to our website, also reach out to go ahead and try your thing. Probably. Someone signed on maybe for a free trial at like 9 o'clock. Someone within your company had, and this is 9 o'clock at night, by 8:30 the next morning, someone said, hey, reached out. Hey, this person had signed up. Thank you so much. do you want to follow up with them? Would you like me to reach out or anything like that? So in terms of your internal team, they are very, very quick when you do have questions, because I would probably guess when people are playing around with the CRM, most of the questions they have in terms of when they actually play around with it are going to be within the first minutes, because they're not really familiar with it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And what we try to do is we think on the educational thing is you should understand the core concept of us, and we don't assume that you have done the paradigm shift as we did. And so even it's visual and people think, oh, I know that, but it's not. And so we want to help them to see the transition. And you see, when you one time, you know these pictures where you have in one pictures, two pictures, and when you see the old lady or the young lady or whatever it is, but only when someone is drawing your attention to that and you see it, then you always see that.
Mm-hmm.
This you see, we had done a paradigm shift. Otherwise, we would be the same technology as anyone else. Yeah, and it looks out of the visualization that the people assume the assumption is, oh, I understand it, and this is not true, because we build some stuff so intelligent and logic that we can, if you look all the videos, you can get it. But in some of that stuff, when someone takes your hand a little bit, not long, and shows you, you always will understand. And this is why, and this is really the truth. Yeah, this is the bottom truth. We have never trained, even to big organizations, someone more than half a day, even in the administration.
I mean, for CRM, that is huge, because that's one thing that kind of turns people off to CRMs. I mean, aside from it, well, it's going to be real cumbersome and people aren't going to use it. And if I'm a small to mid-sized business, I don't have the resources, or maybe I don't want to spend the resources to pay someone to manage this. So for a small to mid-sized company, for a sales manager, who's running a sales team, he can be an admin, or he can train someone else to be an admin. And you're saying no more than half a day.
Not more half a day, and you don't need one for a company. Let's say, normally a company by sizes of 50 or 100 licenses, you need, normally when you have Salesforce, you need a CRM administrator. Yeah.
Yeah.
That costs a company approximately, at least, with total cost of ownership and everything, around $100K per year, at least. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even more. Yeah. So you don't need that. So you have already saved 100K. 100 grand is not bad, yeah, to save. Besides that, the productivity is there. Besides that, the people more love it, and besides all the other stuff. But you see, we made it so easy, and it needs only a little help at the beginning. And when you one time see, you know what I'm referring to, the pictures that you sometimes see in books. When you see, have you seen the old lady or the young?
Yeah. Where you flip it upside down and it's like a pretty lady with a crown.
Yes, exactly. And when you one time see that, you always see it. And this is exactly what we did. It needs a little help at the beginning. You can figure that all out by yourself, but not every person is that, because we changed something. We changed the approach, and the approach is a new one. Otherwise, we would be not a new paradigm. Otherwise, we would be like anyone else, line-based. Yeah.
I like that. And one thing too, especially because for me, I'm the sales manager for my company. I do spend a lot of time, especially with newer reps, trying to help them focus where to spend their time and how to spend their time. If you have people, and again, sales is different in every environment. They might have been in a similar field. They might have been in an entirely different field, and for them to adapt our process and to really get a feel of, okay, when should I call these people? Am I calling these people too much? Having any sort of system that can automate it to a certain extent, but also build in your own processes is huge. Like for me, I have a terms of a rating system for a lead, 1 to 10, where it follows and how it's moving down the funnel. If I were to ask my sales team coming in how they would rank something without knowing the industry, without knowing the process, they would have it ranked very differently. So having something that kind of unifies the process, that makes things easier for the sales team is huge. So we definitely appreciate having you on in terms of key takeaways. CRMs have been around, you said 25, 30 years, correct?
That's correct. This is where it started.
25, 30 years. Most of them, have, in terms of your words, suck because it didn't really take into account the visual side, take into account the actual sales rep side, and it really started more so on the enterprise. And now you're seeing more and more it's focusing more toward the. I mean, it's not just enterprises. I mean, it's also small and mid-sized too. I'm not saying that enterprise companies aren't also adopting it who might have had their own system before, but having something that was based off of a lot of feedback and that is relatively fresh is definitely huge. So what we're going to do, we're going to put links. We're going to have a link to Pipeline. We already have that. Up on our website. We're going to go ahead and put links to all these ebooks and all these resources.
Right.
Really excited. So you're going to have, basically, you said, a freemium model.
I'm starting with the end of May, 26th of May. We have the next release, the big one, and there we are going out with a freemium and a light version. It will be very light for because we have a lot of downloads in India and in Nigeria and in the emerging markets, and we want to cover them. We are too expensive for them, and so we trimmed it down to some core features and easy so that they can use it. And the only thing what we lack right now is on awareness. Our problem is only awareness, and awareness is so cost intensive. This is amazing because you see, it's about pouring millions into marketing, and this is what we don't want to do. We want to grow differently. I hope it works, but I strongly believe at the end of the day, when you tell the truth, when you tell the people how it is, and when you have a supreme product that is really good, people will come to you. And I give you an example. I live in Los Angeles, and I live close. I live in the Palisades, and this is close to Venice. Yeah, and in Venice there is one restaurant. Okay, a restaurant is easy. It's the name of the restaurant. Maybe some people they have visited Venice, they know that is Scelina.
Okay,
and Scelina is a very cool, very easy, very nice restaurant. It's not fancy, really. It has tremendous food, yeah. And it inside are no big decoration, nothing. Yeah, it's just a cool. Yeah. Since the 4 years I'm living here, and I know it started earlier, they have never advertised anything, and every day is booked out. People are standing in line every day. And if you want to reserve, you have 2 to 3 weeks ahead. And this is not 1 month. It's not a hype. It's not 2 months. It's not 1 year. It's not 2 years. It's many years right now. You see, when you have something that's really good and it's cost effective and it's good, then you don't have the problem. This is what we want to create. Helping people, giving them something, giving insight, having a supreme product with a good cost, not too expensive. What you pay, because you go there and the pizza costs also, it's not costing you $35, it costs 18, 16. What is fair, yeah? Mm-hmm. And you get a great product and you have wine, it costs you not $20 a glass, it's I think 9 to 12, and it's good wine, yeah? But it's all fair, so that otherwise why the people would line up so many years? Because you see so this is what we want to do.
Very cool. Good stuff. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. And
it was good talking to you, Nicholas. Thank you.
Yeah,
you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.